I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and I've been blessed with the support of my friends, family, coaches, and community throughout my life. When looking for a bank to call home, it was easy to choose Midwest Bank. I never feel like just another customer, and they're proud to support their communities. They love what they do, and it shows. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
Hey Nebraska! Register today for the 40th annual Cornhusker State Games, taking place July 11th through the 21st in Lincoln, Omaha, and other Nebraska communities. The Cornhusker State Games features 70 sports for athletes of all ages and abilities. Price increases are approaching, so register early and save. For details, go to cornhuskerstategames.com. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel with Gatorade, brought to you by Pepsi Cola of Lincoln, a proud partner of the Cornhusker State Games.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Power combo BOGO? Huh?
Yes, if you purchase an air conditioner, you receive a furnace completely free. At John Henry's, our professionals want to ensure you are comfortable in your home all year long, no matter what Nebraska has to throw at us. Call today to schedule your free estimate and learn more about the free furnace waiting for you. Give John Henry's a call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown! 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker and one more.
Demorne Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in to Ticket Weeknights. Once again, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos, as always, as soon as 6 o'clock hits. We had a replay for the first one-on-one with DP in the Omaha Supernovas. You had Christina and Maggie Cartwright. Good one there. Go back on YouTube in case you missed it. But this is the Don't Punt Hour. We got the host, as always, Demorne Pierson-El joining us. And again, if you guys ever want to join the show, start our name and text line 402-464-5685. Always a great way to put a face to the voice. And again, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo Channel 961. But Demorne Pierson-El, how's it going on this beautiful Monday, man?
It's Monday and it's going. So,
yeah.
We here.
Yeah, we are here. Speaking of guys that are here, we got a Nebraska transfer portal that hit today as well. Raleigh Worcester out of Utah commits to Nebraska, about an 89.42 composite score for On3, 3-star. He stands at 6'4", 200 pounds shooting guard. So I'll take that size at the shooting guard position, 6'4", 200. I'm curious. I haven't gotten a lot of tape on him. I'm curious to see what his shooting numbers are. But again, another addition there. He was ranked on 3, his rankings on 3 anyways. Nationally, 324, shooting guard 66. So again, we'll see what we get from him. We'll learn a little bit more, but that's some recent news. Another recent news, NFL, and I really want to get your thoughts on this. It makes sense to me, but I want to hear your thoughts on it first. Devontae Smith gets a nice extension. He had his 5th-year option for $15.59 million, but instead they extended it another 3 years and $75 million added on top of that already, guaranteed to at least get $51 million. Thoughts on Devontae Smith? The Eagles early going ahead and extending him.
They should. Honestly, they're looking at, I think, when you have 2 number 1 receivers, a lot of teams are, don't want to be in a situation that Cincinnati's in.
Mm-hmm.
It's you pay him now. Honestly, I think he's got the same deal as McLaurin got a couple years ago, as Debo got. So it's like, you getting it out the way. You kind of get it done. It's not as bad. You know, both sides are kind of happy, and he can double dip, honestly, in a short time. So, you know, good for him. I know CeeDee Lamb is probably pissed off. But I mean, you know, the Eagles, you know, they're very aggressive. They have been, you know, these last couple of years with just making moves and whatnot. So, you know, good for him. And you love to see, you know, people get their money worth.
Yeah, I think it's smart because I got a list of some wide receivers whose contracts are coming up, and I think you're right. I think what they're saying is let's just pay him a lot now. What seems like a pretty heavy amount, that number is only going to be more if you wait, because guys that are coming up, and I think they're just trying to beat the market on it. You mentioned one of them already, CeeDee Lamb, but Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and quite a few other wide receivers. But those are the big ones. They're going to be due for a contract here pretty soon as well. So that looks a lot better when you put that into context. Understanding that this market, as we've seen in the NFL, just goes up and up and up with every year. You pay that now and you beat it. That number is not going to look so ugly when these other wide receivers get there.
It's going to be, you know, 5 to 15 million more than what it was the previous year. So they got it done. They got it out the way. They don't have to necessarily worry about it. It's a 3-year deal. So your signing bonus is a huge chunk of that. And, you know, you got maybe 2 years of, you know, a heavy hit on cap, or at least a year. So, I mean, it's a fairly, you know, good deal. You getting for the athlete, you know, you getting over 50% of your money. So that's a really good deal for him. And that's kind of what you want to see. And that's what you want to look for, you know, in those contracts, whether, you know, I guess if there's a winner or a loser in contracts. For instance, you know, a couple years ago, or when Tyreek Hill was traded, that's why he was traded. The guaranteed money wasn't necessarily what he wanted it to be, and that's what, you know, the problem was or whatnot. So anytime, you know, you can get over, you know, 50% of your money pretty much guaranteed up front, you'll take that. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I like it for the Eagles. I think it's a smart way to keep your players connected to the team, know that you're going to take care of them. And again, just being smart, be proactive. Don't let that market drive those prices up. When you got a guy and he's already willing to commit right then and there, just pay the man. He's a great wide receiver. Pay him. Smart move by the Philadelphia Eagles. I liked it a lot. But moving on here, that's kind of not a whole lot of noise in the NFL world, understandably so. But the NBA playoffs are officially here tomorrow night. Pierson-El, we got the bracket in front of us. And I'm hyped. This was, especially in the Western Conference, this thing came down to the wire.
It was a nail biter. I mean, for the first 3 spots, man, good luck.
Yeah, it came down for all those out there listening. Why it was so crazy, it was you had the 1, 2, and 3 all with the exact same win-loss record. No tiebreakers. I don't think there's even any tiebreakers. I think they were all splitting. So with that being said, it was you got to win, and that's why they scheduled those games so early, to make sure they can get that all settled out, and make sure teams don't just tank for spots. But the Thunder took care of things early. Then the Nuggets get there as well. So real quick for the Western Conference, the East wasn't as entertaining. It was really Boston Celtics. Yep. But for the West, Thunder, they took care of it. An incredible record, 57-25. The Thunder had the second round, the number 2 pick 2 years ago. Now they're sitting there with the number 1 record in the NBA, in the toughest conference as well. The Thunder, what they're doing, it's just been insane. And we might have time to talk about Chet Holmgren. He's been impressive. And then, of course, at number 2, the Denver Nuggets, they hold on as well, 57-25. Number 3, another surprising team, Minnesota Timberwolves, 56-25. And then you finally get that drop. But that's just how close things were in the West. 4 Clippers, 51-31. 5 Mavericks, 50-32. And then 6 49-33 for the Phoenix Suns. And then you got your play-in teams as well. Pelicans, Lakers, Warriors, Kings. And then on the East, not as exciting. The best team, Celtics by far, 64-18. And then the Knicks. Not a lot of people have been paying attention to the Knicks, but Jalen Brunson
playing real good ball.
Yep.
They can get to the Eastern Conference Final, and that'll be a game.
Is Jalen Brunson one of the most underrated guards right now in the league?
Absolutely. His whole career, like when he was at Villanova, just period, you know, he stayed consistent. You know, things weren't given. He doesn't do a lot of talking, but he consistently shows up, and you can't deny him.
Yeah, I was reading a stat earlier. He's had more 40-point games than Kyrie or Dame or Jason Tatum. Out of all these guys, we consider the superstars of the league.
And that's crazy. He's doing that in New York. New York is a mecca, is a stronghold for sports capital of making superstars. So I'm not sure like why that's not clicking, especially with LeBron out of the West. Like I mean, Tatum is probably the Tatum and Embiid. And you can put Giannis in there. I mean, but I feel like Giannis, has kind of on the downward trend. But outside of that, I mean, he's taking the ropes. He's climbing the ladder.
Yeah, he do raise a good question. For being in New York, no one's talking about Jalen Brunson. That is one of the biggest marks in the NBA. Maybe I have to go down to New York and figure out what the buzz is. But in terms of a national level,
Melo was there. He was doing some things. Amari Stoudemire, he was doing some things. Odell, was there, like, just a few, like, people that's like, oh, okay, and it's like, he's been consistent, like, I feel like a lot of the league, respects him.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know, what's the fall off? Is it Aaron Rodgers across the bridge or something that's getting the attention? I don't know.
That is crazy. Yeah, you think it's like there's always this hype around the New York Knicks. It's like, oh, they're going to get Kevin Durant. They're going to get these superstars. And then they actually get a guy that isn't necessarily a quote-unquote superstar, but under the radar has becoming one of the best players in the league.
He's the glue.
The glue and the star. I mean, he is the best player by far. Well, I shouldn't say by far. No, I'll go ahead and say by far. Jalen Brunson is the leader of that team. I mean, his season has been incredible, to say the least. Number 3 for the East. The East is so weird, man. 49 and 33. You got the Bucks. This one's interesting. Giannis with the calf injury. He's in the air for that game 1, and they're going to have the Pacers, 6-seeded Pacers. Do you think the Bucks can pull this one off? Because even if Giannis does come back, he does seem to heal at a freaky rate. But I don't
like
this year.
I don't like Doc. I don't like that hire there. I feel like he's kind of messed up the situation. So for whatever reason, he hasn't been successful. He's had talented teams. He's had more talented teams than the Bucks, and he's done nothing with them. So him being there, I don't know. Like you would want to say that, but Dame hasn't even been a bright spot there or anything like that. So I'm not too confident in him.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Doc Rivers. Why he took the job, if it wasn't for the money, he complains a lot about that job. I mean, a lot. When he got there, he complained about the time frame he was given. He's complaining about the team's effort on road games. And you mentioned it. You were on a loaded, way back in the, you can go back to the Clippers. You can go back, just roster after roster, 76ers, Celtics. Like, he's had so many great players underneath him. And it's like, no wonder his win-loss ratio is good. When you surround yourself with that much talent, it's hard to lose a lot of games.
I just, it's after I would say after he left Boston, I thought things would be different in LA, and it was just disappointing. It got there, it got you to the edge of your seat, and then it was just a huge letdown. Same thing with the Sixers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. I like Doc, but for whatever reason, it's just I have no idea why he hasn't had more championships, because he's had the top caliber players to get it done.
Yeah. He sits in there with that horrible conference finals record where he just continuously gets beat. If he does make it to a conference finals, if I remember correctly, I think it's like he's got 1-7. It's not great.
I understand the earlier stuff with LeBron. Get that. I'm talking about after the Celtics. Like, you know what I mean? When LeBron left, the conference or whatnot and everything like that. So it's shocking. Like I said, I'm not buying what they're selling.
Yeah, and some of the quotes I was talking about, why I just think it's so bizarre that he took this job. This is his last one. Basically kind of talking about a lot of the road losses. Says, I don't understand why you're doing this. Oh, excuse me. He's talking about ownership here. Okay, I'd want to get better context for that one. But you can go back. He's got plenty. He's like, even just that right there, even though that one's about ownership, like, you just got the job, man. You talk about ownership, you talk about the team not wanting, you talk about the short time frame that you got there and how it's so unfair. And it's just it's probably the worst version of Doc Rivers I've seen. Now, if he wins it all, I'll shut up and I'll stop talking about it because you maybe approve something. But he's got to do something with that roster. And you got Damian Lillard. He's been a disappointment this year. He hasn't been bad, but you thought with Giannis paired up with him, you get, just a bunch of elite 3-point shooters, as the Bucks have always realized, smart thing to do with Giannis. Damian Lillard has just had a season that has been okay. It's been similar to what he's had on the Trailblazers, but you're expecting a jump. What do you think the problem's been with the Bucks and Damian Lillard in particular? Because he's been okay.
He doesn't want to step on it's Giannis's team. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the new guy in. You don't want to step on nobody's shoes and everything like that. But bro, there's a reason why they brought you there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying, forget feelings and hurt people's pride and whatnot, but step up. I'm not saying he's being nice, about it. I know he was, going through a divorce or a separation. So, that might play into some things and whatnot and everything like that. That can definitely, distract you and keep your mind occupied. So I get that. So I'm giving him, a little bit of grace, but to get your mind off of some things and everything like that, you might need to go off and get you a 50-piece, 60-piece real quick, remind people. And I think, he just kind of got to take over the ship and just get, more comfortable and whatnot. I mean, he got traded, then his coach got fired, then another coach came in. So, that's a lot of, that's a weird situation to be in.
Yeah. And Adrian Griffin is leaving too. Again, that's the ownership comment. And he's, gruntled with that. He doesn't like how that went down. He didn't agree with it there. It's just, he's on this team and it feels like he doesn't agree with a lot of the ownership in place and a lot
You there to coach.
What's that?
Like, I said he's there to coach. They're paying you. Like,
it's interesting. I don't see it at all.
Athletes would get fined if we comment on coaching, if we commented on ref play and everything like that. And like, come on, man. Like, we understand what it is and whatnot. Like, you know what I mean? It is what it is. That comes a part of the job. Like, nobody's necessarily holding it over your head. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were, riding the wave and turn things around completely better, it wouldn't matter. But now that it's an excuse, like, you kind of like, are, taking the cheese on that. Like, come on, man. Like, don't do that.
I'm with you there. I'm out on the Bucks. I don't know what the locker room looks like, but it just feels fractured. With Giannis being in the air too for that game one. They got the Pacers, like I said, 6 seed. Tyrese Halliburton, he was a lot better to start the season. He definitely slowed down, but that could come back in a hurry. And if he looks anything like he did, especially those first few months, that could be a scary out if they don't have a healthy Giannis, where the Pacers really could find a way to keep him in that series.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, agreed.
Okay, and then moving on here, the last teams in the East, you got the 4 Cavaliers and the Magic at 5. Play-in teams. My Chicago Bulls, they really love that play-in ever since it came around. They love sitting in that 9 or 10 position. They got the 10 Hawks, and then the 7 Philadelphia 76ers at 7 is just wild. And then the number 8 Miami Heat. Those are your play-in teams on the Eastern Conference side. And, I mean, I don't really like any of those teams, but we do got to talk about one, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers. Mm-hmm. I don't get it with those guys. Joel Embiid is by far one of the most dominant players during the regular season. And even in years past, when they've had that 1 or 2 seed, 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, Joel Embiid just doesn't show up in the playoffs. And part of that's them scheming around him. But this is a guy that averages over 1 point per minute when he's out there on the court. And then he just gets completely shut down over and over and over again. And again, maybe, you can tie that back to Doc Rivers if you want to, again, and argue why that fell apart. But when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers, sitting at 7, 47 and 35 in a weak Eastern Conference, it is a little bit disappointing to see those other teams take these massive shots. And then Joel Embiid, I thought it was going to work out with some of the distractions out of the way, but they're not looking great either. What's been the biggest problem for the Philadelphia 76ers? And in particular, how can Joel Embiid try to elevate this team in the playoffs?
I don't think he has any help. In the previous years, he's had help. I don't know if he was tired or hurt or injured. I couldn't name somebody else on their roster.
Right now, still got Maxey out there. He's probably, you could argue.
Exactly. You can argue. My point exactly. Point proven. So not to, they are, NBA talents. They are starters and whatnot. Get that. But, he's had help, from, Harden or
I forgot they got Buddy Hield out there too. Another guy worth mentioning.
So
But
I mean, he has a lot. He has a lot on his plate, and you know, when the playoffs start and everything like that, what you do good, you know, most teams figure a way how to stop that from happening, and you know, your go-to move to stop or your go-to ways to score and everything like that. So I'm not putting it all necessarily on him because it's a team, you know, type of thing. You know, LeBron still had help. You know, the Warriors had help. You know, they had their pieces and that helped and whatnot. So I'm not too harsh on him because he's only one man and it's only so much that you necessarily can do when everybody knows you're the main attraction. They just gotta have the other pieces, you know, step up and you know create, you know, some opportunities to get things rolling, or you know, get the offense flowing in a different way.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I don't think I have enough talent around it. Tobias Harris has been again kind of at the beginning of the season. It's like this thing might take off, and it didn't work out that way. You look at Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield. It's just nothing's ever seems to be clicking for the Philadelphia 76ers unless Joel Embiid scores 35 plus points, gets a strong double-double. They're not winning a lot of games. It just consistently falls all on him, and I think that's the problem you see all the time in the playoffs when you see, you know, the James Harden MVP years, the Russell Westbrook MVP years. When you have a guy that is literally the entire team, that is such an easy thing to scheme against when you get into the playoffs. And I think it's not a Joel Embiid not showing up. I think it's surrounding cast. I mean, we've been through the Ben Simmons saga and him not showing up on that roster.
And with Harden, like, you know, you can say what you want to. Like, if Harden played decent, but if it was the Houston Harden that showed up, that, you know, in some of those series, you know, completely different. And, you know, they had some good years. I think the year the Raptors beat them and whatnot. That was a good series. You know, that was probably about their best year.
Oh, and man, it just brutal.
And it was just, you know, one shot. You know, it was what it was. But anything, you know, outside of that, I feel like, you know, that was kind of the ceiling, and everything else was up under it.
That really was their chance in that Raptors year.
Yeah,
they could have won the whole damn thing if Kawhi Leonard didn't hit that ridiculous shot in the corner that hung around the rim forever. That's one of those moments where you can just say the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, and that is the first image that comes to everybody's head is that Eastern Conference Game 7, Kawhi Leonard. That shot's incredible. So when you think of Kawhi Leonard, do you think of him with the Spurs or do you think of him with the Raptors? That's tough because I'm going to
say
won
championships with both.
I'm going to say the Raptors and then second the Spurs because that shot is so, you know, probably recent.
It's an iconic shot. Well. It's an iconic shot.
But I can't deny I was definitely rooting for him against LeBron James early in his career. And I loved watching the San Antonio Spurs when you had Ginobili, you had Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan doesn't get enough love. I don't understand that one either, especially those younger generation out there. I'm only 25 years old, but you got to watch Tim Duncan. Not the flashiest player, just so good. And people don't even have him in their top 10 centers, and it's absolutely outrageous. Crazy. But let's move on here. Let's talk about some of the good players, players that have been showing up all season long. And we'll keep giving him his flowers because it's just incredible. Nikola Jokic clinches top 5 in total points, rebounds, and assists for the season, a feat untouched since. Can you guess the last player to do that? To be top 5 in points, rebounds, and assists for an entire season?
I would probably.
You're gonna have to go deep in history. That's the only hint I'll give you.
Probably Magic.
Wilt Chamberlain. You're a right team, Lakers. Like, he has just eye-dropping stats all the time. Like, Wilt Chamberlain's one of those guys where you're like, no one's ever going to touch that. This guy was just ridiculous. You can even throw the argument he played against a bunch of plumbers, which I hate. You know, I think he was definitely a pioneer of the game. But even if that's your take that he played against a bunch of plumbers.
He was ahead of his time. Oh, well.
That makes Jokic's stat all that more impressive. To be able to do that, and the last guy was Wilt Chamberlain, it's just insane. I would imagine most people's first guess would be LeBron James, but nope, it was Wilt Chamberlain. Just an incredible year by Nikola Jokic. And then you got Jamal Murray, arguably the best duo heading into the playoffs. I think that's the best duo. I can't think of another duo heading into this that is better than those two.
If the Phoenix Suns can get out of their way and
what's in their way
and figure out who with what between KD and Book, That's a hard duo. They've been playing well. I don't think they got too many people that demand the ball, I think, on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody kind of takes lead or takes charge, because Bradley Beal can do the same thing too. He's a walking bucket.
Mm-hmm.
If him and Jokic, I can. That's fair to say. That's fair to say. I got some other people that's like 1B and 1C.
I thought you'd throw LeBron and AD at me.
AD's never healthy. Like, that's too easy. Like, that would be speaking on past. Like, I'm thinking of more so recent. Like,
okay, let's assume they're healthy heading into this.
Oh, then Bron and AD is not close. Then Bron and AD is not close.
Really? You're still okay.
If AD is healthy, I think you get to see flashes of Bron from 5-6 years ago, to where he doesn't have to exert and do some of the other stuff that he has to been carrying the team now. He can kind of get back into a role of what we've kind of seen, instead of having to worry about X, Y, and Z, just to take a little bit off his plate.
I'm still going to go with Jokic, because I do think Jamal Murray, especially when it's come to the playoffs in these past few seasons, he has not been far off the greatness of the other players in the league. Like, when it comes to a LeBron James, his playoff numbers aren't small in comparison. He's right up in there, arguably the best guard when it comes to the playoffs in terms of percentage.
How many seasons though?
When he's healthy, I mean, let's see.
How many seasons? Because LeBron got 20 seasons. So out of them 20 seasons, are you taking 10 of Bron's? You taking 15 of Bron's? If you throw KD
I'm
in
talking
here,
about I'm just going strictly off last. We'll go the last 2 seasons, because we did have a year where Jamal Murray wasn't even healthy, so you can't even grade that in there, which is tough. And LeBron, if we're going LeBron James in his prime, I'm taking LeBron James and AD. If you get a prime LeBron James, I don't think there's a question there. But the current state of LeBron James, which is still it's insane. He'll still put up a 20.
He's still
27,
averaging
7, 8, whatever.
He's still averaging freak numbers for his age and to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. But you got Jokic
and still making playoffs and still making a playoff push. Like, he's not. You see LeBron in the playoffs, you worried. That's not. Oh yeah, we got them. You like, oh okay, it's gonna be one of them.
You did see that. I don't know. Did you catch the last regular season game with the Pelicans and Lakers?
No.
Okay, it was kind of a weird timed game. LeBron showed up, like he looked like it's playoff time. The Pelicans didn't stand a chance. It was pretty embarrassing early. They were just, there's a few times where Zion was, I don't know if he was getting frustrating, but at least trying to take over the role and just trying to get something going. And it was turnovers, passes way over the head. LeBron James was dicing them. You saw that crazy stat where I think in the first half he had over 13 or right at 13 assists in one half of play. He's put up 13, just cutting teams apart.
Experience. Like, what do you work smarter, not harder? Like, he doesn't have to be, one step dribble, going up top anymore and everything like that. He's a threat when the ball is in his hand, and he makes his teammates better necessarily around him because he knows where you're going to be coming from, and he can make the right pass to get an easy 2 or 3.
Yeah, we got to talk about some of the dark horse teams when it comes to these playoffs, because hopefully, speaking of guys with experience, DeMar DeRozan for the Chicago Bulls. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be fun to see them at least shock some things. Because DeMar DeRozan, as I love getting to the end of the NBA regular season because you get all these crazy stats and see these accolades. DeMar DeRozan also beat one of LeBron James's records, not a points, rebounds, or an assist record, but he actually beat LeBron James in average minutes played for the oldest player to averages a high minutes. So DeMar DeRozan gets that title. It's something for the Bulls to hang on to after, once again, disappointing season, sitting at 9. I think they've been 9. I want to say 3 years in a row now. The Chicago Bulls have just been what seems like a treadmill that's going nowhere. But hopefully this year they can shake things up a little bit, make some moves.
They make the playoffs. That's a plus.
Yeah, in the East, they are not making the playoffs if they're over in the West, and that's kind of the whole thing. That, as we talked about earlier, with
this not your experiment. It's not a controlled environment. They doing what they're supposed to in the conference. They're supposed to.
Fair enough. But I will say, you got to do more than just the play-in. I mean, if the play-in wasn't around, then no, they don't even get to be in the playoffs these past few seasons. So that being said, though, we are running out of time. We'll throw it to our first break here. This is the Don't Punt Hour with the host, as always, the morning Pierson-El streaming in. Don't go anywhere. We'll join you guys in just a little bit.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals and everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska's always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
If the week's been too hectic to even think about dinner, or your family can't handle one more night of leftovers, then it's time to let Hog Wild do the cooking. Hog Wild's family packs are one heck of a good deal for a complete barbecue meal loaded with all the smoked meats, tasty sides, buns, and sauces you need to feed your family. Order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 3210 Cornhusker Highway in Lincoln.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
The need in our community, if you just look at the numbers, it's frightening. We're serving over 1,000 kids every day. With the passion of our people, I really feel like our potential to be of even greater service to kids and families who are struggling is just unlimited. But in order to have the greatest impact, we need all the help we can get from the community.
NEBCO is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mixed Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NEBCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NEBCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
This is Coach Bill Bush. You all know my passion for Nebraska. Having coached all over the country, I can honestly say there is no place like Nebraska. You know where there's also no place like? Midwest Bank. Midwest Bank has proudly served Nebraska for over 70 years, and they're located in 9 different communities. Midwest Bank is ready, willing, and able to meet all your personal, business, and agriculture needs. Your community, your bank, and mine, Midwest Bank. Find out more at Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger at Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations. Guess what?
What?
There's 5 Lincoln locations now. Oh my gosh. That's 25% more Lincoln locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside 93.7 The Ticket Studios, 1040 O Street.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. This is the Don't Punt Hour with hosts, as always, DeMornay Pierson-El. Streaming in, if you guys want to join in on the show, Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. We only have Royals on the airways, but again, we're still streaming Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, Allo Channel 961. All a great way to put a face to the voice. But on the last segment, I did talk about DeMar DeRozan. I want to get the proper stats because it has been impressive. And as a Bulls fan, I got to talk about it because DeMar DeRozan, what he's doing at the age of 34, it's remarkable, man. It really is. For his age, he's doing kind of LeBron-esque things. The only difference is LeBron is regarded as one of the greatest players of all time. But DeMar DeRozan, still a future Hall of Famer. I'm 100% positive on that one. He's got that written in his future. But DeMar DeRozan has broken LeBron James' record of being the oldest player in the NBA in history to lead the league in total minutes played for an entire season. And he got better as the season went on. That's the crazy part about this. So being at 34 years old, it wasn't a strong start and a slow finish. First 20 games, he averaged 21.3 points per game. Next 39 games, 23.6 per game. Last 23 games, he moves up to 27 points per game, along with 6 assists, 4.6 rebounds, as well on 60.8% true shooting. It's incredible. I've never seen a player that old just continue to get better like that. DeMar DeRozan, is there any chance for the Chicago Bulls to be led by DeMar DeRozan, who's been playing crazy, some of the best basketball in his career at the age of 34? This is like insane because the last time he played this many minutes when he was drafted his rookie year, and now he's sitting here doing it. Any chance for the Bulls to make some noise in the weaker Eastern Conference? And they got the Hawks. That's their first round. Once again, the Atlanta Hawks.
Would they have to go through? Would they have to meet?
So
would they have to beat the Celtics before the Eastern Conference Final, or they would meet them in the Eastern Conference Final?
They'd have to meet them. If they get out of the play-in, that's who they got first because they are in that 10-9 spot.
I can see them getting. I can see them winning their first series. I think that the Celtics are just a little bit more of everything that they're not.
They're deep.
Yeah. So I mean, on the bench. Any given player, they got at least 3 players that can that can go off on a night. So it's not all on Tatum versus what Chicago has. It would be solely pretty much on the DeMar DeRozan. So it's a tough hill. Can it happen? Is it likely going to happen? Probably not. Mm-hmm. If they didn't meet the Celtics so early, I would probably feel better about it. But I mean, they can take him to a game 6. They can take him to a game 7.
I was hoping you're going to say, man, it's reminding me a lot of Jimmy Butler on the Heat last year. That's what I was going for. Heat had some better talent surrounding it, though. That's the difference. The problem with the Bulls.
I mean, that and the coach.
Billy Donovan. Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm talking with the Heat's coach.
Oh, yes. Spoelstra.
Period. Like, that, man, coaching can get you there.
Mm-hmm. Do you buy into the Heat culture? Is that real?
I think so. I mean, they've consistently been good regardless of where they start. Like, that's a team you don't want to see. Mm-hmm. As weak as you may think and whatnot and everything like that, they're going to run. They're going to play, good defense. It's going to be a physical game. And that's not an easy win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good. Whoever has Miami, good luck facing them. They gave the Celtics a problem. That's
76ers. Let's talk about that then. 76ers. I think the Heat pulled this one off. They are the lower seed, but again, only one game behind
Playoffs,
the 76ers.
baby. Playoffs. Come on.
I buy into the Heat culture. And if you think that's cheesy and dumb, just replace the word Heat with Spoelstra, because that culture is going to go away when he retires. I think it'll last a little bit. And if Spoelstra does get a guy who's in system who understands it, maybe it does extend. But he's just such a fantastic.
I mean, Pat Riley's still down there, got his hands in control and whatnot. Even if they do, go whatever ways, it's the reason, after LeBron left, he wasn't fired. So clearly, that's the guy they want. You think they're not going to do, they next coach search or groom the next guy for after him if they decide to do that? Come on now.
They might hire Doc Rivers. It seems like the most popular move in the world for winning teams, which makes no damn sense to me. I'm sorry, I keep going back on this, but you see teams with these fantastic rosters, these winning records, and they're like, you know what, Budenholzer, get out of here. I'm sorry. I don't even want to go there because it was horrible what they did to that man. And then they go and hire Doc Rivers, who hates the job, who complains about ownership, who just very negative guy.
He's collecting a check. It's okay.
Good. Yeah. It's just Doc Rivers, prove me wrong. I'm begging you, prove me wrong, because it'll look better on your legacy as well, because unfortunately that will stick to him forever if he can't figure out something. And I do hope for a healthy Giannis. That sucks. Like, if you got to go through this and you don't have healthy Giannis, again, Tyrese Halliburton is a little bit scary on that Pacers team where he can make some noise. And you lost Drew Holiday. That's a little nerve-wracking as well. That's going to be your guy that can lock up guards. So, again, not super optimistic on it, but there is a chance for the Bucks to try to make some noise. But you got to hope for Giannis to be healthy. But let's go to the other side, because there's another one here that's getting some conversation. The Golden State Warriors at 10. They got the Kings. I like that matchup. Who do you like in this one? Because the Kings went from the number one offense last year to a pretty, not a bad season. Again, you're in the West. You got a winning record. You're 10 plus over 500. Good season, but it was a step down from last year.
That series scares me. Because you want to lean on, okay, Steph, Clay, their experience and this and this and that. When Steph and Clay were playing good, and the Warriors are playing good, they still took them to Game 7.
Yep.
So this young crew, they kicking indoors and running in stuff. They don't care. So that's a tough one. I think the Warriors pulled it out the last time they faced each other, right?
Yep.
I think the Young Bucks learned their lesson and kind of get over this hump this round.
Well, this is why this is interesting too, because
and you never know what Draymond is. Draymond can either boost the team or be detrimental. If he is choking people out, Draymond, he hurts them.
Throwing a cheap elbow, whatever it may be, an early ejection, they cannot afford.
He hurts him.
Yeah,
he'll put him behind the ball. But if Draymond, is locked in and the defensive, the glue with keeping things in or throwing people off their game and whatnot, you got your hands full.
Hopefully they buried the hatchet on that. He had a little bit of kumbaya on his podcast with Klay Thompson, and they did talk about it, so maybe they got it figured out, but I hope so, because the therapy clearly did not work for him. I mean, as soon as he got back, he just went straight back to getting ejected. But again, talk to the teammates. Maybe he stays good. I will say in the playoffs, though, Draymond Green, he does always play really well in the playoffs. So that's why that is part of the Warriors run, as much as if you want to be a Draymond Green hater, yeah, he's not going to put crazy numbers in the playoffs. Every now and then he might have a high-scoring night.
He was bringing other things that nobody else wouldn't. He was taking on tasks to where, Steph and Clay could do the offensive thing and they'd be fine.
Yeah, it's the intangibles. I mean, it really is a big deal. The defense, despite, him getting older, he still is a really good defender, and I'll die on that hill. If you don't believe me, you just have to watch him. Like, he is still one of the better defenders out there, and he plays physical. He plays strong. He just has to stay out of foul trouble. But again, this is why it's interesting, right? Because you get the young bucks or the veterans, and then you got the number one Thunder team. Again, a team who had the second pick 2 years ago. Now they're sitting number one in the Western Conference at 57-25 with a guy named Chet Holmgren. So you got a bunch of young bucks. SGA does have some experience, though. That's not a team that's completely raw to the whole playoff experience. But Kings or Warriors, whoever you think wins that matchup, you're still going with Kings. But that seems like it bodes pretty well for the Thunder if they got the Sacramento Kings. I'd be more scared of the Warriors if I'm the Thunder. Because Steve Kerr's kind of got that same aura that Spoelstra does, at least in my opinion.
I'll give you from that perspective. Yeah, I'll give you that. I feel like, it might be a small relief that it's not the Warriors, but the Kings are still a problem. Like, just because they weren't as good as last year doesn't mean that they don't have the capability of doing that.
Yeah, they're 10 games above 500. I mean, you're right there. Yeah.
So it's not going to be necessarily easy. And the Kings have been experienced and gone toe-to-toe with, NBA champs in that realm and whatnot. So they've been, more accustomed, not just, one person or, the whole team versus, just maybe, a few players. Like that team is, young and experienced. Playoffs is different, preparing yourself and everything like that. You done went through a whole season and getting yourself there and whatnot is different, so they kind of know, what works for them and what not. You can't say the same for OKC. Like, you don't know how they're going to show up. So that's kind of, where I'm at with it, just the inexperience versus the experience. It's still going to be a good series. It still might go 6 or 7 still.
Yeah, I do think this has the chance to be one of the best playoffs we've had in a long time.
Yeah, on the west side, on the west.
When has that not been the case? You can still say
when
it really
was on the east.
No, that wasn't fun because, I mean, they literally called it LeBronto. I mean, you just knew there's teams that he owned the East. It was LeBron James, and that's it. It was like, okay, the Warriors, I guess you could argue this is kind of the same side with the Warriors on the West, but that era, even though it was predictable, it was incredibly exciting because there's two juggernauts, LeBron James, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving for a little bit versus the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson, of course, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. Even though it's predictable, it was pretty exciting because you did have a team from the East that, despite it being weaker, you knew that LeBron.
You had about 3 teams on the East. Like, don't just say it was.
That's how it's always been, though. Is my point. It's 3 teams. Again, you got the Celtics, 64-18, just murdered everybody in the East, and then you drop down to 50 wins, and then you drop down to 40, and then it just drops off really far from there. It's always so top heavy in the East. There's never like a 5-6. Well, I guess the Miami Heat last year, a play-in team. I think that's probably the only time I can really pick a team that was a low seed that made a serious run in the East, that actually made it to the finals on top of everything.
I don't know. When John Wall was in Washington, maybe. When Toronto had their run, when Paul George was with the Pacers, like, they had some pretty good runs. Chicago, when Derrick Rose, but I mean, they were always higher seeds. So I mean, it was some teams.
Mm-hmm. That was fun when Roy Hibbert scared LeBron James. Those are the one times that you looked like LeBron. It's always so funny because he even talked about Roy Hibbert.
When Dwight Howard was was down in Orlando, like it was the East had a few teams that was capable of some things. They just they ran into LeBron.
I'm still dying on top heavy. Just top heavy. You pick like 3 teams. Last year, the only exception, and I hope I'm wrong because that means the Bulls got a chance to do what the Heat did last year, but I don't ever get super excited for the East. Yes, there's teams that could shake things up, but again, it's like 1, 2, 3, everybody else not putting a lot of money on. And then you go to the West. I mean, the Lakers and the Warriors, that's your 10-8, and nobody wants to play either of those teams. The Los Angeles Lakers at 8, again, you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I'm more nervous of the Warriors and the Lakers than I am of OKC, honestly, in the playoffs.
I'm not ready to go. SGA has been scary. And that whole roster with Chet Holmgren as well. I just all around. We'll keep tabs on this. If they're first round and out, that is going to be brutal. I hope they get the Kings because I think that's a lot better of a job. Not saying that it's a wash, but I do say if it's Steve Kerr, that's brutal. I just think that is always tough going against a guy who's been there so many times. We did leave one guy out, and we didn't even mention him. We're talking about the best duos. And I'm going to keep the Clippers out of this because caution, if you're Clippers fans, Kawhi Leonard fans, there is some rumor circulating that he's got some serious knee soreness and swelling going on. So that's another superstar. Hopefully he stays healthy throughout the entire thing. But there is a chance Kawhi Leonard might be hindered. But the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving, I'll retract my statements. I was wrong. I thought that was a terrible move. I was like, I've seen this guy burn enough bridges. Going to the Celtics saying, I'll be back, and then immediately heading out the door just a few months later. I was wrong. I mean, he's been killing it with Luka Doncic. That whole team's been really fun to watch. Is this a year for the Dallas Mavericks to kind of make some noise?
No. I think they're a few pieces away. They got some things rolling. I don't think they're deep, and I think outside of maybe those two guys, the drop off is significantly, or people don't contribute as much. But they're close. They're missing a few pieces.
And then of course the Phoenix Suns and the Timberwolves, the other two teams on the West. The Suns, I'm just not buying. I
the Suns got to get out of their own way. I think it's you got 5 superstars or 4 superstars on one team, and it's like only really 2 of them kind of get to go off.
Yeah. I thought they should have tried to figure out a way to get a Drew Holiday instead of a Bradley Beal. Like, I get the idea. Let's just outscore everybody. But you can never rely on scoring the same way you can rely on defense. And if you look at the playoffs in the past, like, yes, the Warriors, that I always mention them, but it's because they've been in the playoffs so damn much, in the finals in particular. You look at year after year after year, those Eastern, Western Conference finals, those teams are always ranked at least, very least top 10 in defense.
Mm-hmm.
The Suns, they're not touching that. Like, they're just not good enough defensively.
Run and shoot. That's it.
Yeah. Someone's got to sacrifice it. And, Bradley Beal, I think he's capable of being a good defender, but just not to the same level as some of these other teams in here. And then, of course, Denver Nuggets at 2. That's going to maintain my pick because I just think that's the best duo in the league. And how you beat Jokic is just yet to be determined. That's where I like it. As I look this thing up and down, I do think this is the year where the Celtics finally bust through. I mean, they dominated all regular season. If they lose another Eastern Conference Finals,
is that coach fired?
I don't know what you do. What do you do there? Your team's, because you have a roster that consistently makes it far into the playoffs. It's not like you have disappointing regular seasons. It's disappointing postseason play, but only for the simple fact that you can't make it to the finals. Four Boonholes are getting fired by losing to the Heat. And hindsight, they go on to beat the Celtics. That was a good roster. What's wrong with the Boston Celtics? And is this year they get over what is supposedly wrong?
I think just, in the years past, when the moment came, it's just the moment was just too big, or when they did necessarily get there, they were just so far gassed. Where, Tatum had to overdo so much. I don't think he attacked a couple of those, final games how he should have. And I don't know if he was just, overthinking things, or just was in his own head. Or he might have just been off. He got started later or whatnot. But I mean, if you don't make it there this year, bring Coach K in to really, set a fire under people. The players might not. I'm not saying they don't respect the coach, but just somebody else, a different perspective. He's gonna be completely honest. A lot of people respect him and whatnot, and see if he can put y'all through a off-season program or something to get y'all in shape, or to do things differently or whatnot.
As we're sitting out here now that the playoffs, they're all set. Who do you really like? And he's speculating, trying to figure out who are these teams going to be. Now that's a guarantee. It's not a DeMornay Pierson-El guarantee.
I like the Heat. On the East, I like the Heat.
Again? You're going.
Yes.
I'm talking finals. You got them in the finals? If you had to take,
I don't know. I don't know. I think the Eastern Conference Final will be the Heat and the Celtics again. I do think that. I just don't the experience and the run that the Heat went on. They've been there, but they've been there before. They know what it kind of takes. And it's you going in the gym, lifting every day. Sooner or later, you're going to get calloused. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be better. They've been in those situations a lot more than a lot of those other teams on the Eastern Conference, on the Eastern sides, other than probably the Celtics. So I just think they're just, it'll be an easier run for them to get back to the Eastern Conference Final. That's just how I think. On the West side,
this is where it's brutal, because you have a good argument for every one of these teams except for the Pelicans, just because the whooping they took by the Lakers, as Lakers looked playoff ready and the Pelicans didn't. I just can't figure out that team to save my life.
I think that the Western Conference Final will probably be the Nuggets and the Timberwolves.
Ooh, that bodes well for the Nuggets. As we talked about last time, the Timberwolves are good.
All the other teams that I'm thinking of, they have to go through Denver, and that sucks. I think the Lakers have to go through Denver, correct?
Lakers got to go through Denver. Yep. And the Suns, the Timberwolves would have to go through Denver. The other side who could meet the Nuggets, you'd be looking at the Thunder or the Clippers or Mavericks, or the Warriors or Kings if you pick those guys.
I thought the Timberwolves was on the other side, so never mind.
If it's a healthy Kawhi Leonard, I'm going Clippers. I think the Clippers are a dark horse in this one. They look scary, and I'm always picking really good defenders. And Paul George,
know what Kawhi, so it's disappointing.
I'm assuming he's healthy enough. Kawhi Leonard seems like he's one of those. Well, takes a lot of load management games, so maybe not. But again, he's an older guy. He gets beat up a lot. But if he's healthy, I really do. I would circle that.
I would agree with that. I can see that.
Yeah, and as long as you get Paul George not way off P, that's the other part. You got to have a consistent Paul George in that one. So, I mean, with that being said, that's kind of where I'm sitting with these NBA playoffs. The West is going to be so fun to watch. I'm really excited for this one. And again,
Denver's going to be so fun to watch because they have to go through everybody to make it to the top. Whoever's on the opposite side, that ride isn't as difficult.
Yeah.
Unless you run into the Warriors and the Clippers, and then
it's just a gauntlet. If you're a Western team and you make it to the Eastern or the Western Conference Finals, even if you don't win the finals, like you deserve a banner for that one. I mean, that's just an incredible run.
Participation banner or something. Yeah. They're giving those out these days. They don't. Everybody gets a ribbon. Yeah, that's what they'll get.
I think you deserve it in the West. East, no. You don't get the participation awards. You got to actually win it because that's a little too easy. But it's crazy. It starts tomorrow, April 16th through the 19th. That is the play-in. April 20th, that's when the playoffs actually start. So, again, you're going to have the Kings, Warriors, Pelicans, Lakers, Bulls, Hawks, 76ers, Heat. Those are your play-in teams. And real quick, I do want to make a correction as I was talking about Raleigh Worcester not shooting our point guard position. That makes it different because we do need a point guard. His shooting numbers aren't great. They were a little better than what Sam Hoiberg's were last year and guys like that. I don't think he's going to be there for a true shooting threat. He's just going to be there, in my opinion, as a real point guard, someone to set up the offense, be a playmaker, good defender, and he does have good steal numbers. That certainly bodes well. And before we get out of here, just your thoughts on Nebraska, what looks like just trying to lock in a true point guard.
It's a hole in the offense. It's a hole in the program. So you get the best fit guy in there. If somebody doesn't turn the ball over and creates steals that can run the floor and whatnot, that's a plus.
Mm-hmm.
You rather have a guy that can, run things and get things set up and have the offense flow nicely than just be a scorer.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think it's a good move. It's a good start. As we saw, quite a few portals out there on the way to Nebraska, so you're going to need to patch that up. And I think getting a true point guard is a great start. But nonetheless, that's going to wrap it up for the Don't Punt Hour. Shout out to DeMornay Pierson-El for streaming in. The host, as always, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. But don't go anywhere. We got Speed and Power up next. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit.